Hello, and thank you for joining College to Consulting. Today's class is really about private equity or how to evaluate a company, and we're going to go over some very critical financial concepts such as CAGR, NPV, and some other concepts. I'm going to go through this class very slow, as I know a lot of these concepts are new to most of the students here, and it will just help to really make the example stick if I go through it a little bit slower. Okay? So let's say you get this type of case. Tell us if we should buy company X and sell it in 5 years. So what I'm going to do to make this framework is I'm going to have my framework sheet of paper. And again, there's always a macro and micro level view of a framework. So with the macro level view, first going to start off with the market. So here I'm going to write out product, the competition, what's being made, how many people are doing it as well. What's the industry like? Industries, how does it evolve? What are their substitutes, etc. And then I'm going to go to the micro level view. So the micro level is how do we evaluate this company? So what this means is I'm going to look at two parts. Management. And in here I'm going to look at culture. Culture could be such as, is the company very Google-esque and very free form and very flat? Or is it more hierarchical, like a iBank, or more blue collar, like a Ford or something like that? And then we have operations. How do things get done, essentially? If there's a problem, how does it escalate? Does it go through a manager who has to then escalate it up? Is it pretty rounded out? Who knows? But these are the parts to look at. And then we're going to go into finances. So finances will help us evaluate what the profit margins are for a company, what the return on investment is, or ROI, the compounded annual growth rate, or the growth rate, essentially, CAGR as it's called. And then NPV. NPV is net present value. The break even, when do we make our money back? Cost streams, as well as revenue streams. So this is a framework of how to evaluate a company. Let's go into each of these parts in more detail. So first, we want to look at current management to improve the company. So why don't I take a step back and tell you what private equity is? So you're probably asking, what is this private equity word, this phrase that I keep hearing? Well, private equity is essentially when companies will come in and improve an existing company. And how they'll do that is the PE firm will replace the existing management with their own managers, and they will provide other resources like marketing. One risk to this is they may alienate the company culture. So essentially, if you ever watch cable where they do flipping a house or flipping a restaurant to make it better or anything like that, that's essentially what private equity firms do. They go in and they flip a business. They go in and they replace management with their own managers, help marketing in order to help this business get back on their feet. But now they own part of that equity, so they will have a better investment in that type of company. Here are some examples of companies owned by private equity. One is a very childhood favorite, Toys R Us. Okay. Another one is another one called Burlington Coat Factory. And the last, I'm an avid guitar player, so there's Guitar Center. Now what's funny is all three of these companies are owned by Bain Capital. So what Bain did is when these companies were struggling, they went in, they said, we will replace your management, we'll own this equity of this company and be able to flip it. So they market it differently, they have better rewards programs, loyalty programs, better marketing, and as a result, these companies are able to survive when they were about to tank and go out of business. Okay, so that's essentially a look at management and other parts around it. Now let's look at those financial metrics. So this may seem daunting, but just trust me, don't write anything down right now, just follow along, listen. You can always watch the video again to get a better grasp of what's happening. The first metric we're going to look at is profit margin. We've gone through this before, but profit margin is essentially a way to identify profit per product. And an example that I tell people is, let's say if you were at a movie theater, what do you think the highest profit product is? It's not the movie ticket for sure. The highest profit product is probably the popcorn and the drinks, because it costs very, very, very little to make. So what they want to do is they want to push this product because you'll buy more of it, meaning they'll gain more profit per unit of that item sold. So even though, let's say popcorn costs a cent, 1 penny to make, but they sell it for 50 cents. I know I'm being very, very exaggerating right here. That means that they make 49 cents of profit per unit of popcorn that they sell. So they want to push that more than if they were to sell a movie theater ticket, which may cost $1. And let's say the profit that they get on that is only, I don't know, let's say $1. Let's say if they sell it for $1, the profit that they're getting is only 10 cents. Okay, I don't know. Let's say the cost of renting everything else is 90 cents. So that instance, not making that much profit. So they really want to push the popcorn and the drinks. So here's the formula for it. Revenue minus costs over revenue. Let's do another example. Let's say you buy a machine for $100,000, okay, and you sell it for $300,000. The profit margin is essentially 300 minus 100 over 300. So the revenue that I got from it was 300,000 because I sold it. I originally bought it for 100,000, so that was my cost, divided by the total revenue that I got from it, which is 300. So that equals 67%, or that means you're making 67 cents of profit per $1. Okay? Next is return on investment, or ROI. And what this is, it's a measurement of the effectiveness of an investment. How well did my investment do? Okay. The formula is essentially the reverse of what we just looked at. Revenue minus cost over costs. So now instead of how much money did I make per dollar that I got, how much money did I make per dollar that I put into this thing? That's how you should think about it. So let's say you buy a machine for $100,000 and you sell it for $300,000. Your return on investment is 300 because revenue minus $100 in cost, $100,000 in cost, divided by $100,000. So that means 200%. Okay? So what this means is for every dollar that I put in, I effectively got $2 back. Okay? So every dollar I put in, I got $2 back for a 200% return on investment. Okay. So those two are formulas that you might be asked to calculate, or you should know how to calculate, because those are not hard to do at all. Next ones, you will most likely not have to calculate them, but you should know what the formula is. So pay attention to that part. The first one is called compounded annual growth rate, or CAGR. And what this is, it's the investment growth rate smoothed out over time. Think about it like a best fit curve of growth. So growth might be very, very volatile, but it's how does growth look smoothed out over time for whatever period you're looking at. Here is the equation. Now, don't get too scared about it, but it's the last year value over the first year value to 1 over the total number of years minus 1. Okay, I'm going to read that again. The last year value over the first year value to the power of 1 divided by the total number of years you're looking at minus 1. Now, this is an example of why this is important. So let's say you invest $100 in a machine, and within 2 years, you would make $400 from the investment. The compounded annual growth rate, meaning what does growth look like for those 2 years smoothed out on average over time, would mean the last year value, which is 400, divided by the first year value, which is 100, to the power of 1 over 2 minus 1. So when you think about that, that's 400 divided by 100 means 4, to the power of half, or the square root of 4, which is 2, minus 1. So 2 minus 1 now equals 1, or 100%. This means that the average growth rate for this machine is 100%. So every year it's increasing by 100%. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. The last one that we're going to look at is called NPV, and this is probably the most important one you want to look at. NPV, or the net present value. And you can go online and you can find all these different definitions and examples and all this stuff, but I really think this is the best one. It essentially helps you determine if future earnings are greater than the amount you paid. And that's all the question is what I'm going to get in the future greater than the amount that I paid today. Okay, so there are a couple of concepts I want to talk about before I even show anything for net present value. The first is called cash flow. And cash flow is very different from revenue. Cash flow is how much cash am I getting in a certain amount of time. So how much cash am I getting this year? And cash does not mean revenue. The reason why is because revenue can include something called account receivable, like credit. So let's say you lent money to your friend, and your friend is going to pay you back in the near future, and your friend's going to be good on it. Let's say your friend's not a scumbag and not gonna just walk away with your money. Your friend's going to be good on it and pay you back. That's not cash, though. That doesn't mean anything. Yes, it's revenue because your friend said they're going to give you some money back, but until you have it, that doesn't mean anything. Okay. The last concept I want to talk about is something called rate of return. And rate of return is essentially how do we discount money. So what I mean by that is it talks about the effectiveness of a dollar today versus a dollar in the future. So what that can mean is if you spend, let's say $1 on a bottle of some type of soft drink like Coca-Cola today, let's say in 10 years, now that's being sold in the same place and everything else for $1.10. The reason why this could be is because that means the value of $1 has increased, so you need more money to buy the same product. Or you think about a product that you bought when you were a kid, like a bag of candy. Now it probably costs you, it made it cost $1. Now let's say it costs $5. The reason why is because at the time when you were a kid, $1 had a stronger value than it does today. So you need more dollars to get the same thing. So here is the equation. It's the sum of cash flow divided by 1 plus the rate of return for that time, for that year. Okay? Again, the sum of cash flow, cash, not revenue, cash flow, divided by 1 plus the rate of return by that time. So here's an example. I'm going to read this one nice and slow. Let's say you invest $1,000 in a machine. The next 2 years, cash flow is expected to be $1,000 in year 1 and $1,000 in year 2. So year 1, so let's break this down. I put in $1,000 to buy some machine. And the question I'm asking again is, will I get more money back in the future from this $1,000 than what I'm paying for this machine, which is $1,000? Okay, will I get more money back in the future from this machine that I'm paying right now? So let's say in year 1, I'm going to get $1,000 in cash. In year 2, I'm also going to get $1,000 in cash, just to make it really easy. Okay, now cash flow needs to be discounted by 10% every year. The reason why we're going to say this is because we're going to say that hypothetically every year the value of cash in today's term, a value of $1 in today's term, is reduced by 10% the following year. And then the year after that is reduced by 10% again. Okay, so the value of cash is decreasing essentially. So year 0, you always have to do year 0. Year 0 is essentially how much money I put in, because we're looking at the sum of all cash flow. So if I put in $1,000, that means off the bat I'm down $1,000. That makes sense? Even if you put it in this math, which is 1,000 over 1.10 or 1 plus the 10% to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 just means 1. So in year 0, I am losing $1,000 because I put in $1,000 off the bat. Okay? Year 1 is where it'll get a little bit tricky. Year 1 means I have $1,000 of cash divided again by 1 plus my discounted or rate of return, or 10% to the power of 1. So now this equals $909. Okay? Year 2, I also have a cash flow of $1,000 divided by 1.10 because of 1 plus the rate of return. Now cash is being discounted again, once by 10% and another time by 10% to the power of 2, which equals 826. If I sum the $1,000 deficit plus 909 plus 826, that equals 735. This means that I will earn $735 more than I paid in today's terms. That's all that means. That means, yes, this is a great idea because I'll get more money in the future than now, but putting on the same time zone, so $1 is equal to $1. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go back. Let's say we get this prompt again. Tell us if we should buy company X and sell it in 5 years. For our framework, we're going to look at a couple things. Look at the macro level view, which is the market. I want to know the product, the competition, the industry, and the evaluation for the micro level view. The micro level view, so we're going to look at management. Where can we improve management but not upset the culture? What is the culture like? And how can we improve operations for this? Just like Toys R Us and Bain doing what it's doing, we can replace management with our existing management, as well as help with marketing operations, etc. And then we look at finances. Finances, we're going to look at the profit margins. What are the biggest profit producing products? What is the best return on investment? So the best return for a dollar that's put in. The compounded annual growth rate. What's the smoothed out growth rate over time for this company in 5 years? What is the net present value? So in 5 years, how much future earnings will I get from what I paid today from this company? And then the other stuff like break even, cost streams, revenue streams, we've gone over in the profitability cases. So those should be pretty standard and straightforward. Okay. Again, this is, I know, one of the harder concepts to understand. So rewatch the video if you need to. I also put up more information on our site for you to check out and to really understand what the financial metrics are and how they're used for evaluating a company. Okay. Thank you. And I will see you in the next class.